all of those who you take care of have something to be grateful for as well, which is you. And I want to thank Patrick and every one of the 1,500, I guess, people who work here, Richard, who does a great job as well, for the great job you do for both the kids and the young adults who are here. I'm sorry I couldn't meet them. I know they had to go home, but I know the job you do. And I care a lot about this. One of the first things I was invited to when I was a senator was in 1999. A new senator, brand new, and it was, I remember, an early March evening on a Saturday. And I was invited to a public school in Queens, New York. And there were 300 parents there, all of whom had children with autism. But many of you may be too young to remember this. In those days, autism was something they were ashamed of it. And they didn't want to even let people know, let even their close relatives know that a child might have had autism. First, many didn't know what it was, but those who did, they sort of blamed themselves. The research was much more rudimentary than it is today, and they said, well, maybe we did something wrong, and that's why our child is behaving this way. And this beautiful spring evening was like a liberating experience to these parents, because they talked to one another about their children, and they weren't alone, and they came together, and it was amazing to me. And since that time, I was just a senator a few months, I've devoted myself to helping find cures for autism, help fund treatment for autism, help deal with the so many problems that we have seen in this very exploding and growing population. And when I come here, it gives me a lot of strength, just seeing you and knowing what's done at this, one of the finest centers dealing with autism in our whole country, not just here in Sullivan County and not just here in New York State. Grow jobs here in Sullivan County by doing good, helping the people who need help in a very constructive and good way. Here are some statistics. I'm sure you know them, but for the press and others, in just over 30 years, the center has grown from under 30 employees, a small specialized facility. Patrick told me it was started actually for CP by two women on their porch in 1948. Jeffersonville. Amazing. Now you have 1,500 employees, which is an amazing thing. You have a budget of $184 million each year. So, or, according to one independent study, you alone have a total economic impact of $184 million statewide. So there's an economic component to this. It's not as important as the other, but you have to be mindful of that as well. With federal support, we can continue to not only provide better treatment options and produce more research, but we can continue to grow the employee base of this wonderful, wonderful organization. Autism's a serious illness. Autism doesn't age out at 21. Neither should the support services that help our young adults with ASD grow and succeed. That is the theme of our bill, and I will work hard to push it. Now, I want to say a word about someone else is here, and that is my position. On top of that, we don't have enough research. There's a lack of data for what services are currently available, what services are most effective at ensuring a successful transition to adulthood. I'm sure you have ideas about that, having been through this yourselves. But there's no overall data where you can take 1,000 cases and look and see which works the best. In fact, according to the Interagency Autism Coordinating Committee, the only consensus among researchers is that there's a lack of available data. Now, here's some data we do have. Currently, more than half of young adults with ASD are not engaged in employment or further education 1 to 2 years after they graduate from high school. Only 35% of such adults attend any college 2 or 4 year. So, this is wrong. This is bad. And we can't abandon our young people with an ASD just as they're about to continue with their education or go into the workforce. Instead, what we need to do is call in the experts at places like the Center for Discovery to help bridge those gaps, both in the assistance we provide and in the understanding we have for effective transition programs. So, I am here to announce that I am sponsoring, along with Senator Robert Menendez of New Jersey, something called the Assistance in Gaining, Aging, Independence, and Navigation Act. Why does it sound so complicated? Because we like acronyms in the Congress. So the initials are the Age In Act. Assistance in Gaining Experience, Independence, and Navigation, the Age In Act. It's the first piece of legislation to establish a comprehensive framework that joins rigorous research analysis with the careful application of its findings to help transitioning young adults with ASDs become successful, independent members of society. The Age In Act takes a straightforward approach to address the needs of transitioning youth in two phases, which speak to each of the areas that I just mentioned. First, we want to fund that much-needed research to identify the most effective programs and support services. This would be done through federal grants and researchers like those here at the center, practical researchers. And I was talking to Patrick, you know, you can give money to the universities, but they're sort of too detached. You need a combination of the research background and the practical experience that exists at a place like the center to do the best research. And so these research grants, the center would be sort of a prime candidate to apply and get these grants once we pass the law. And the center could easily lead the charge in developing and sharing new techniques to help these individuals. Only then will we know where the most damaging gaps are and how to best fill them. And second, in putting what we learn in that research phase into action, we provide grants to existing entities like yours, like the Center for Discovery, to train a new generation of what we call transition navigators. These transition navigators will be trained to provide interdisciplinary and comprehensive services to address all the needs a transitioning youth might have: applying to school or a vocational program, applying for a job, signing up for health care, all the things that you help people do. The Center for Discovery has a number of unique qualifications that make you just about the best candidate, certainly one of the best candidates, for federal funding to research effective transition programs. You do receive some public funding, but you have to rely on corporate and individual donations to serve high-risk communities and conduct the innovative research that you do, particularly once you're working with adults who don't have the public school funding at their back. Having a source of federal income to provide the necessary services, produce data-driven research, will enhance the services you and other institutions like yourselves are able to provide. And then you can share this research with the at-large developmentally disabled community. You've already produced great research, and you have affiliations with places like Columbia and Harvard and Northeastern and more. So I believe that you're an ideal site, in addition to doing research, for training new transition navigators. And you've shown an ability to grow. You have beautiful space to grow in here in beautiful Hurleyville and Thompson town. Well, you're not in the town of Thompson, are you? Yeah, town of Thompson in Sullivan County. And so here's what we believe. You have the brains because you already draw top research talent from our nation's best universities. You have the experience. You house 200 children, 150 adults, and provide on-site daycare centers. And you have the resources because the center has 1,500 employees. You happen to be the largest employer in Sullivan County. I guess when they get gambling, you'll go to second. But you're doing far more important work. No offense to those who are going to do gambling. So you're perfect for the legislation. And when we designed the legislation, knowing the center's good work, we had you in mind as we designed it. Our hope is that with this bill, we can deliver more research dollars to the center to support research, and will grow the jobs that are here in Sullivan County as well. Growing jobs is something I care about, And there's some, my uncle used to say, it's very nice to do well by doing